Good morning, audience at home and abroad, and good morning, Rabbi. And today we are most pleased to have again Moses, our good friend who has recently joined our YouTube family. Uh, we didn't have enough time to answer all his questions in our last episode, so we're picking it up again today with the next stage in your investigation of Judaism. And who better to ask than the rabbi? So take it away.
Yes. So, Rabbi, when we met, we touched briefly on the different viewpoints in the United States, but in Israel, certain viewpoints like the Zionist, like what are those different viewpoints? How do they differ? And because those are some of the big questions right now that are in our current events that are going on. So,
If you can you think of some things people have said to you about Jews? Maybe they weren't questions, maybe they were just statements. Does anything pop in your mind that you go, that Jews do this, or Jews believe that, or did you know? Does anything pop in your mind that you've heard?
I've heard, now I didn't hear this from a Jew, but
That's
oftentimes you would hear like people would say that like even within the Judaism community with different viewpoints,
Mhm.
some of them view each other as hierarchies. They might look down at a different group, or look up at a different group. So and I guess there's still like a just a perception or misperception of how they also view non-Jews.
Those are excellent questions. And the first one is so true. The Haredi and the ultra-Orthodox, I am a non-Orthodox rabbi, okay? Non-traditional rabbi. Now, I happen to be Reform, but the movement I belong to isn't as important as Judaism really splits between traditional, non-traditional, Orthodox, non-Orthodox, okay? The Orthodox, particularly not all, but the Haredi, the ultra-Orthodox, consider anyone that disagrees with me who's Jewish to have been kidnapped by gypsies and brainwashed. So you're absolutely right in the hierarchy in Judaism. And that is the most absurd thing I can think of. Because tell you, I grew up in Boston and I was never kidnapped by gypsies and I was never brainwashed. So I just want to clarify that. But that does exist, not among all, but among some. But it can't exist because there's no such thing. There's no hierarchy, no pope, no bishop, no cardinals, no central authority. Now, just so you know, I am the chief rabbi of Western Fairfax County, Virginia. That's my official title. Right, see, wow. Doesn't exist. I made it up. But I am. Because and that's why people who do this in Judaism, who claim they're the spokesperson or they're the chief rabbi or they know it all, it doesn't exist. But so I want you to know, and I want you to tell all your friends, you met. In fact, when you refer to this podcast, this YouTube, you're going to tell people you met with the chief rabbi of Western Fairfax County, Virginia. That'll give me prestige.
But yeah, it goes to the thing that I find most interesting. I don't want to say attractive, but intriguing about Judaism, and which has led to many conversations between the rabbi and I, that so much of this is self-defined. You get to say what it is. If I wanted to say I was Jewish tomorrow, I could, and there would be very few people who would be able to argue with me. On the other hand, growing up Roman Catholic, I had to explain to my family constantly, just last week, in fact, no, I haven't converted.
We have our eyes on Joe.
Everybody wants me on their team.
Now, you repeat the second question again.
So just like in terms of how Jews view non-Jews.
Right, right. And that's another misconception. The Talmud is the rabbinic discussion of the oral law that was codified, written between 200, 300 BC and 203 AD. So it's a couple hundred years and in there, some of the rabbis make comments about non-Jews, but it's not binding. It's individual. So that sometimes someone will quote me one of the absurd quotes, just like when you're in school and you're in a study group or someone in class says something absurd. You don't take it as, oh, that's what the Pope teaches. Roman Catholics, Episcopal. You don't say, oh, Episcopalians believe that just because an Episcopal student said something stupid. You don't do that. So, granted, there are statements that people can quote that are derogatory. However, that was some doofus at some point, and the nature of the Talmud is everything gets written down that's said in the discussion. In the Talmud, someone is assigned to take the notes, and they write everything down. And therefore, we're stuck with it. So we don't want to give too much credence to that. Judaism says, follow your teaching. If you're a Christian, live Jesus. If you're following Muhammad, live the Hadith, live the Quran. And Buddhist, Hindu, Judaism says that about every religion being valid. All we do is ask that people live the pure religion and not a fictional version, not something someone made up. That's all. And we consider all religions valid. Nothing's invalid. Just as many ways to understand God as there are leaves on the grass on the fairway. And if you hear something derogatory, it's just that one person. They're not speaking for Judaism. Unfortunately, some people will hear one remark or read something or see a TikTok, and all of a sudden, oh, Jews said this about non-Jews. Jews believe this. No, you have to attach the person who said it, because there's no authority to make those statements. And the tradition doesn't teach that. The tradition really teaches God created these multitude of religions to help us understand God. But another question you asked was about relationship to Israel and Zionism. What were you thinking about that?
If you could clear up some of those, I guess those ideologies and those viewpoints, especially. I mean, I guess that's one of the bigger questions, to be honest with you, because that influences just not only cultures, but you're looking at nations and politics, and even have political figures touching on those topics. So yeah, it can be a touchy subject in today's culture and today's day and age, but I don't think people are actually taking the time out to actually talk to a Jew, a rabbi,
Mm-hmm.
and get their viewpoint.
What clouds the issue is the state of Israel was founded to be a homeland for Jews and a place of Jewish focus. And that confuses the fact that the state of Israel is a country. So this dualness within Israel adds to the confusion. The political Zionists, when the state of Israel founded, was the dominant influence, and they wanted to create a state, a country. Then they parenthetically added a homeland for Jews and a focus. However, the goal was not a focus of a Jewish state. It was to create a country. And therein lies the dilemma for not just us, for everyone. It's a country like Poland, like Czechoslovakia, like Ukraine. Ukraine is a country. So are we going to attack Ukraine and say, oh, the Ukrainian people aren't really Greek Orthodox. Oh, they don't follow the Ukrainian church. Oh, they violated the Ukrainian church teachings. We would never say that about Ukraine. But we say that about Israel because on the list is Israel was supposed to be a light to the nations. It failed. Is a country cannot be loyal to any religion and survive, because Moses, World politics is nasty. Look at Ukraine and Russia. Russia wants to steal land from Ukraine. What's Ukraine supposed to do? Oh no, we're not going to fight you. You can take it. They would just invade the whole country. So therein lies our problem. How do we get across this idea? Israel is a country. It's making decisions I don't agree with, and a lot of Jews don't agree with Netanyahu. And I am not a political Zionist. I'm a cultural, spiritual Zionist. But that movement was overrun 80 years ago when Israel was founded by the political Zionists. So the political Zionists came to the front. They pushed everything aside. And I support Israel as a country. I support Ukraine as a country. I support Poland as a country. I don't support what Russia's doing. I think Russia should pull back and just be its little country instead of wanting to go back to its old borders. And I disagree with a lot of things the American government is doing. But I'm an American citizen and I support America. I took a oath of allegiance. They have my fingerprints. And so I'm an American and I agree with America, but not with some politics. And therein, Moses, lies the problem with Israel is how much of the Judaism spills over into the politics of a country. Switzerland, and we find out now it wasn't so neutral through its own history, tried to be a neutral place so it wouldn't have to take sides in any of the wars. But as we're finding out, they kind of fudged things, and they weren't the great model of neutrality I always thought. But it's a country, and the country, first and foremost, is to survive and protect its borders. And that often conflicts with the best of our religious teachings. And that clouds all of this.
That's so good. That's so good. And it makes me think about that cliche that's often said to not mix religion and politics. Um, but do you think that, I mean, because if you look at Israel, right? They have their strong beliefs, and you look even at the American government. They their beliefs in the Constitution and the things that were written to make up this country were founded on religious beliefs. Um, do you think that no matter what, like beliefs and religion is going to have a play in how we run government?
One of the problems in Israel, it's the British parliamentary system, and that allows for a smaller, non-supported minority to enter government. And Israelis are objecting to the ultra-Orthodox stranglehold on Israeli politics. So we're seeing within Israel itself that the Jews, the Israelis, and many Israelis are not Jewish. And so we're finding a very large group now is finally standing up and saying the ultra-Orthodox and the Orthodox have too much control and we object. And therein lies another problem with the parliamentary system, in that, like I mentioned, a smaller group can be put in the government because it needs their 2 votes to stay in power. So Netanyahu is walking a tightrope. But Jews in Israel and Muslims in Israel and Christians in Israel are objecting to the orthodoxy and their view of Judaism. They want to be more like America, more open, everyone, and not given one group a stranglehold. It's an interesting process to watch. And just keep in mind the War of the Roses and religious wars that took place in Europe when one country claimed to be Catholic, another country Protestant. It did not end well for any of the countries, and wars lasted for over 100 years. A lot of people died. And in the end, we realized, like you said, having a country based on a religion or taking religious oaths will have a bad ending. History proves that. We want to be open and have a place for everybody.
Moses, we really appreciate your talking to us. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so I have my YouTube channel. I'm just starting up, but it can be found under my name, Moises Flowers. Also on the Be Real platform under the same username. And I'm also on Instagram. So you can be more than willing to check me out on there. Um, like I said, I'm still in the process of just the beginning stages, but I'm really excited for the future. Really excited for the content that I'm pushing out, and I'm excited to be on here with you guys. This is really insightful. It's been such a huge blessing, and I think it's really like just healthy to clear up all the misconceptions and all the things floating on out there about Judaism. So, and I thank the rabbi for that, and I thank you, Joe, for all of that as well.
And thank you as well. And we'll add that link in the comments. And Rabbi, do you have a parting word of wisdom for us?
We all have choices in how we act. Even though one's religion may tell you to do this and not do that, or do that but this and that, and one religion may promote something, before each of us acts, let's stop and think for a moment. Does this make sense? Am I truly living the best that my religion teaches? Am I truly acting to the greater glory of God?